So for 70 bucks, you guys are into these two derbies, right? You guys came in with, Ed, it was your PB, correct?
It was 12.3 pounds.
31 and a quarter inch, 12.3 pounds. Not only did you catch your PB, but you won a Warrior 238 and you won a Ranger 622. But one fish was about for $314,694. Does that sound about right?
Sounds like a lot of tax.
That's what I was thinking. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, we're here at Hook One Bait and Tackle in the studio. As always, I'm your host, Pete, and today we've got another great episode for you. I know I say that every week, but it's because I honestly believe it. And this one, I'm super excited for. We're sitting down with Mr. Ed Hatten and Len Heffron. Do those names sound familiar? If they do, you know that these two guys had a heck of a week a couple weeks ago. On November 24th, they caught a 31.25-inch fish. That fish weighed 12.3 pounds. The reason we're bringing this up is because that fish won them the Walleye Slam and the Fall Derby. Those guys won both derbies with one fish. They brought home two boats with one fish. And today we're going to sit down and talk to these guys and see what was their techniques, what has been going on since they've won, and all of that fun stuff that includes the Fall Brawl and Lake Erie Walleye Slam. I'm really looking forward to the show, guys. But before we get started, we got to do our ticket giveaway. I owe 2 packs of 2 tickets. We're going to be giving those away, as well as, obviously, I want to thank all our sponsors. Make sure you guys get to see the discount code before we hop into the episode. So, with that being said, thank you guys all that signed up to do the ticket giveaway. All you had to do was watch that episode. You had to comment down below, and you had to be subscribed to our YouTube channel. So with that being said, I want to congratulate CWise 737. I'm assuming that's my boy Cody Weishart. So congratulations, Cody, as well as Houghton Laker. And that would be Kevin Dwyer. So Cody, Kevin, congratulations, you guys. I will be reaching out to you guys to get your information. Whether you guys want to come pick them up in the store, or I can put them out in the mail and make sure you guys get taken care of. But to all of you guys, there's actually quite a few entries. Can't thank you guys enough. I really appreciate all the support. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys. And I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. This is going to be coming out the week of New Year. We're going to be kicking off the new year with an awesome episode. Talking to these guys, they won over $300,000 of boats. And we're going to jump into that episode. Before we jump into that episode, guys, please do us a favor and support the people that have been supporting us. They've been so great to work with. They've been so easy to work with. They make it a lot easier to keep this podcast rolling and continue to bring new guests to you guys. And you know, they have some ideas for us. They bring giveaways. You know, Rob last week gave away the Procure Pack. If you haven't seen that, tune into our last episode with Captain Rob Barnes. And we're giving away 3 packs of the Procure scent packs. These guys allow us to do a lot of awesome things. Whitewater, Papa's Pilar, Portland Line, Great Lakes Anglers Co. The discount codes are right here. These will save you money. We just had a guy the other day. I know I mentioned it last week in the podcast, but we had a guy the other day use our code on the brand new insulated suits from Whitewater. Something that you wouldn't really think about too much. Like, oh, can I save some money on this? Yeah, you can. You can save $125 using this code right here. So, with that being said, guys, here's the discount code. You can get 10% off some awesome coffee. Not only can you save 10%, but 20% is going to go back into conservation up there on Saginaw Bay and the lower Lake Huron system. Captain Adam's been awesome to work with. Unfortunately, guys, you cannot get you can use the code on Papa's Pilar, but they won't ship to Michigan. So if you can't get it here, have someone from out of state order some. Maybe just head to your local store. They've got some awesome blends. They've got their flagship dark. They've got their blonde, which is really good with Coca-Cola. Also really good just with some ice. And you can also get hooked up with if you're a whiskey drinker, a bourbon drinker, I really highly recommend you try this rye. These here are aged in rye whiskey barrels. These are absolutely delicious. Next episode, we're going to be giving away some more Papa's Pilar. We did 2 giveaways last year. They sent some more out our way. They said, hey, give it away. Let your customers enjoy it. If we can't sell it in Michigan, we're going to give it away. So shout out to the folks at Papa's Pilar at Well. With that all being said, guys, let's get in the room. We're going to talk to Ed and Len. We're going to talk about how they won it. what they did to target these big walleyes, how long they've been fishing it. It's going to be an awesome episode. Let's find out how to win some boats. All right, guys. So I told you we were going to have a couple awesome guests with us this week. We've got Mr. Ed Hatten and Mr. Len Heffron here. What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
Hey, Pete, how's it going today?
What's going
I'll tell you
on?
what, we're pretty excited.
Ed, you should be very excited, my friend. And guys, I know we talked a little bit on the intro about what we were going to be talking about, but these two gentlemen here, well, let me start first, guys. How long have you been fishing together?
Well over 20 years.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 25.
25. And have you guys been doing tournaments this whole time?
I'll say probably closer to the last 16 years that Lenny and I have been doing tournaments. We kind of got sucked in from some guys locally in our area, but it's grown pretty quick.
Yeah,
And Len, you guys mentioned you've been doing the loot, the Lake Erie Walleye Trail. Not as much this year as you would have liked to do, but in the past, that's been a pretty successful as far as like learning and figuring out Lake Erie, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of friends out there now. We're gaining friends out there, trying to be able to talk to people, to try to network. But our local lake, we do all the tournaments out here on Oneida Lake here in Syracuse, New York. But we always like a challenge, so we decided that years ago that we wanted to start doing the loots. It's definitely, well, we were talking before we got on the air, and there's a lot of good sticks out there, and we wanted that challenge, and we're getting close to the money, and that's kind of our goal, is to start cashing in those as well. And 2 years ago we did almost the entire series. This year I kind of forced Ed to take a break because I didn't want my marriage to end. The year before I spent all my vacation out in Ohio, so I kind of wanted to give my wife a year with me.
Yeah, man. I actually our last episode was with a local captain around here, Captain Rob, and that's one thing we talked about as far as like tournament fishing or guiding or whatever you're doing in this industry. It's like finding that sweet spot, because a lot of people don't realize when you do a tournament. So like if you guys are doing the loot, you got to take a few days to pre-fish, and then you got to be down there for the tournament, and then you got to take a day to get home, or at least that last Sunday or whatever. It takes a ton of time to be able to, some money, but mostly time, and it can be tough on the family. So I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, and I think one thing we always tell people, where people that don't fish and don't fish tournaments, they don't believe us when we say it's mentally draining, because you're always trying to think of, what do we do? What bait do we put on? Where do we go? What kind of depths do we do? And it's not just like throwing a hook, a worm, and a bobber out. It's mentally exhausting, and I don't think people understand. And when we get home from these trips, it's you're collapsing.
Yeah, 100%. You have anything to add to that, Ed? Because he's spot on.
I'll say that Lenny and I have spent a lot of our vacation time, and when you take a look at the amount of time that we spend on the water, I mean, from March until November, if we're not on the water, we're in the woods, and then during the winter, if we're not in the woods, we're on the ice. And our marriages are like second marriages sometimes, and it's been kind of a running joke that Lenny's my first wife, or vice versa. And we've seen a lot of growth in family over our relationship, over our friendship, and I mean, that's what it's blossomed into. The things that our wives allow us to do without allowing us to do it, we couldn't do it without their support.
No, you're 100% right, man. God bless our women. Mine puts up with. I mean, I got her to sell the house and move into the apartment above the bait store. So, you want to talk about testing the waters? They've been tested. So that's why when we had the kid back in July, I said, I think I'm going to sit this derby season out. I don't think she'll be too happy if I was spending, too many weekends down in Ohio. And that's kind of what I wanted to crack into. So you guys are from right around that Syracuse, New York area. Would you consider Oneida Lake your home body of water?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you come over to do these trips over in Lake Erie, when I was talking to Len a little bit before we got started, Lenny was saying it takes a good 5-6 hours to get there. So when you plan these trips, are you doing weekend trips? Are you going 2, 3, 4 days at a time? Are you doing a week? What's kind of from each of you guys, what's kind of the plan here?
So from our standpoint for the Brawl, we shoot for the week of Thanksgiving because we know that we can travel out on Saturday. We can leave early and at least get on the water Saturday if weather permitting, and then we'll fish through Wednesday and leave Wednesday midday and head back. When we've done the loot tournaments, I mean, we normally come out for a week. We've realized that spending a week on Lake Erie, you might get 3 days, you might get 2, you might get 1. So we've pared down. I mean, last year when we fished the series, we fished 4 events plus the championship. We pared it down to where we only came in 2 days ahead of time, pre-fished if we could, and if we couldn't, it was what it was. The MWC loot tournament, we would come in for the full week with a couple of friends, and we would fish that, and we do the best we can. We've gotten to the point where we can get on big water, and within reason. But at the end of the day, anything that a night of lake throws at us is nothing like what Lake Erie throws at you.
No, the Great Lakes are a monster. Lenny, what's your guys' typical? How do you guys typically fish on Oneida Lake? Is it mostly a trolling lake for you guys?
Yeah, we started off jigging early in our career, and then a couple local anglers that were really good at trolling kind of set us up and taught us how to troll. And it was one of those frustrating things where we kept giving up, and they told us, keep your jigging rods home. That way, if you're going to not troll, you're going home. And once we started doing that, we got pretty good at trolling. So we probably troll 80% of the time. But this year, since we both have, active target on our boats, we figured that we need to start using this and figuring it out. In one of the early tournaments on the lake, we actually had pretty decent success. We had a really good, if you get a 3-pounder on our lake, it's a really good fish for a tournament. And we averaged a little over 3 pounds per fish. And we ended up getting second place. Somebody that beat us out ended up catching a 5-pounder. So that kind of put them over us. But we never touched trolling. The only thing we did was threw jerk baits, and it was probably one of the most fun tournaments that we ever did, where the entire time we were just moving around, scoping out the fish, casting to them, and we were like kids in a candy store that actually we were able to pivot and do that and see them all. It was really cool. So we're trying to be more more than one-dimensional on our lake, but we are pretty good at trolling, and we like trolling. Again, to what you said before, having 6 lines in the water always seems better than 2.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's kind of what we talked about before. People make a big deal about the whole forward-facing sonar, but it's a bigger thing in the bass industry because you can't troll for bass. In the walleye industry, I think there's always going to be a place for trolling because you can throw anywhere from 6 to 9 lines out depending where you're at. Over here in Michigan, when we're trolling, we get 3 rods a person. So if you get 3 guys, I mean, you're fishing 9 rods. But we're speaking of big water, and we're speaking about trolling. So let's give my viewers here a little idea of what did happen. So you guys fished the Fall Brawl and the Walleye Slam. Both of them are right around that $35 entry fee mark. So for $70, you guys are into these 2 derbies, right? On November 24th, you guys came in with, Ed, it was your PB, correct?
It was 12.3 pounds.
That's it, man. 31 and a quarter inch, 12.3 pounds. So not only did you catch your PB, but you won a Warrior 238 and you won a Ranger 622. So one fish, and this is according to the Fall Brawl and the Walleye Slams pages here as far as prices go, but one fish was about $314,694. Does that sound about right?
Sounds like a lot of tax.
That's what I was thinking, dude. But it allows you guys to be in these bigger boats and troll this bigger water. What kind of rig are you? You had actually, I think I just saw your boat go up for sale the other day. Is it the ZV20?
It is a ZV20.
Which one? We're going to dive into fishing Lake Erie here in a minute, and we're going to talk about a lot of like the winning and how all that stuff went down at the end. But did you guys decide to keep both boats, one boat? How did that all kind of shake out?
Well, I'll tell you, I headed into the tournament or into the derbies, and this is how Lenny and I philosophize on fishing to begin with. We split everything. I mean, we're fishing partners, costs, time, his rig one time, my rig the next. And, at the end of the day, anything that we would ever win, we split it right down the middle. I mean, we've been best friends for a long time, and it's just the easiest way to make sure that it's equitable, and there's never a question.
That's awesome, dude. That's important. I've seen a lot of friendships in the past tested because of this, because you don't really think about it until it happens, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, we were fishing together and doing this, but then all of a sudden, one person wins it, because I mean, obviously they can't win. You can't give it to the team. And that's something I tell everybody that I know. We're signing up for the fall brawl. I go, you make sure how the winnings are split before you do it. Because you can get put in a bad position if you don't.
And I'll say it's just a word of mouth. I mean, with us, I mean, listen, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, dude, that is so cool. That is so cool. And again, we're going to dive a lot more into the boats and what's going on and all that fun stuff. But I really want to focus on fishing Lake Erie first, before we kind of dive into that, because you guys, it sounds like, have a ton of experience doing it. You guys have fished a couple of those NWT events as co-anglers, and you got to see kind of how some of these guys do it. I would assume that your preferred method of fishing out there is trolling, but how did you guys decide on like what port you wanted to launch out of? I guess, like, what was your plan going into that week of fishing?
Well, I booked a house in July. We came out with 3 other friends, and there was a potential of up to 7 of us to come out together. And it happened that 5 of us came out, 2 boats. So we looked for a house that would fit the 2 boats and 5 guys. And we planned for the week of Thanksgiving. I mean, that's the week that I know I can take off every year. And this will be my 3rd year of fishing the Brawl, and my 2nd year fishing the Slam. I had to skip 22 because of COVID. But I was able to talk Lenny into coming out for the Brawl this year and the Slam. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't have been happier that he did. The last couple of years, I mean, we get into, this is our opening week of hunting season normally. So we were lucky that this year that hunting season actually opened a week early. But Lenny and I have seen enough deer in our life that this turned out to be the right move for us.
The women had to be pumped, right? I mean, you guys leave all the time to do these tournaments, and I don't know how you've been finishing or whatnot, but finally it's like, hey, we did it. We freaking won it.
I think we probably just about broke even now.
Maybe. That doesn't include, that'll include all your gas and all your tackle and driving over there, but that won't include your time spent on the water.
We won't talk about tackle.
Well, we will do our due diligence. We're going to give a shout out to Mike for painting that bait, and a shout out to Craig down there at Erie Outfitters and those guys, because they do a heck of a job, and they put in a ton of work doing what they do. And Mike does a really good job painting baits. I saw that bait that you guys caught it on. It's a nice looking bait. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's going to be busy for a little while.
You think? Tell him you guys want commission.
I'll tell you what. I got all the commission that I need. The personal equity in people like that is I'll tell you, I say you can't ask for more, but you deal with good people and you want success for them too. I mean, I knew that I had bought that bait at Erie Outfitters. I wasn't sure who made it, but I knew that it wasn't a stock color. And when we went in there, I was looking for more, and it had caught about 85% of the fish that day. But I asked Craig, I said, hey, I'm looking for a bait, and I'm pretty sure that I bought it here. And he's like, well, do you want to show me what it is? And he says, you don't have to. And I said, absolutely. And as soon as he saw it, he says, that's one of Mike's. And I'm like, do you have any more out back? He's like, no. He says, we sold out of them a long time ago, but Mike will be excited to see it. So,
was he going to make you some more at least for the box?
I already picked them up. I've already got 6 more, and that one's going in the fish.
Oh, that'll be awesome, dude. That's an awesome mount.
That was something we brought it back out to the live well, and then when we came back in, we were like, you should just get this thing mounted because you're gonna finish high enough. And then it was decision that he we just handed the fish right to Craig, put it in the bag so that the taxidermist can make it, and it just was so fortunate that it held up, and all that bad weather kept hitting Ohio, and it held up. So now he's going to have his personal best. This winning both these events, that exact fish on the wall, which is pretty cool.
It's so cool, man. It's so funny because like you mentioned earlier, like you talk to a lot of people that don't fish like we do. Like, we're addicts. That's the only way to explain it is we are addicted to it. I mean, I got people that come into my bait store and there's times I feel like a drug dealer. They'll come in, they'll buy baits, they hand me cash, and they're like, "You didn't see me. Don't tell anyone you saw me." It's like, all right, dude, we're good. But we are addicted to this, and so many people don't realize that, like, that one fish, as many awesome experiences as if you guys have been able to be a part of, in all the tournaments you fish and the fish you've caught and the deer you're shot, you're gonna be able to look at that fish, one single fish, and have so much memories and so much into that fish. Like that is gonna be seriously cool. I'm glad they could save that fish.
Well, Pete, I'm going to tell you that Nitro does an excellent job for fish management, and the thing was a flopper when we got to Central Basin and saw Eric down there. We weighed it, put it back in the boat with the recirc on it and the oxygen generator that's in there. We got out to Erie Outfitters, and the thing's flopping around, and it was just one of those things that I was like, we don't keep fish, we don't keep big fish. Everything goes back unless it's for a tournament and we've got to bring them in. I mean, we don't keep them. So I was willing to throw that fish back and be happy doing it. I mean, the memories that we've got in the pictures and in what we have in the mind. And I'll say that our buddy Chris Banuski, he caught his personal best a bunch of years back, and he got a replica made. And he's like, dude, I wish that I got a skin mount. And he says, and then Craig said that he had a guy there, and if you win the Brawl or win the Slam, he says, it's free. And I was like, you know what? These guys talked me into it and said, hey, look, you're not gonna remember this any other way by just. So I said, let's do it regardless. And if nothing else, I mean, for a couple of New York guys to come out and be on the leaderboard for if nothing else, a couple of days, it was awesome. So they talked me into it, and I'm happy that they did. I mean, it'll be the one that I have on the wall, and the stories that we have to go with it are priceless.
Oh, dude, you're not kidding. So Ed, how was the day that you caught the winning fish? How was fishing that day? Was it relatively good? Was it tough to come by bites?
Go ahead, Lenny.
It we went out of Huron, and we were struggling the first 2 hours because we figured that they were, we went out at first light. It's still dark when we were actually coming out of the mouth of the river. And one of the things, Ed was saying before is his shallow water alarm was going off on his thing. There were so many shad. They were so thick in that river. And I'm like, we're not getting shallow. It says we're in like whatever 20 something feet of water. They were that thick. So we figured that the fish had to be pretty close. So we went right outside the break wall. We were trolling right along the shore and right along the break wall, came across the mouth. And I don't think for the first 2 hours we even had a bite. And we're like, okay. So we ended up moving out a little bit and catching a few small ones, but nothing that was going to win you any kind of money. So all of a sudden our tournament mindset, we're like, all right, we got to pack up, we got to move. And so we kept going east. I forget what we went, 5-10 miles, whatever, and set up on a bunch of good marks. And, started catching 2, 3, 4 pounders. And we're like, these aren't going to win it. So we moved again and closer to a mark that Ed had on his boat from a few years prior, where him and a buddy of ours caught a 10 pounder. And that's kind of when the magic started happening. I'll let
Big
Ed
fish?
get into the magic part.
So we had a 16.
Sorry, he's got the better part of that part of the
Oh
story.
man, you're leaving me hanging.
He's got the better part of the beginning stages of that.
So Pete, around noon, we're traveling over some good marks, and we get one on. Board goes back, and it's a 4-arm burner. We're reeling it in, and it took quite a long time, and we thought that this is a good fish. And Lenny and I have some superstitions, and one of them is to not say this is a good fish, and we did. And after about 10, 11 minutes, we get it up to the boat, and we realize it's a 16-inch shad, maybe an 18-inch shad that is hooked in the side and just coming in like a parachute. And we get up here. We've slowed the boat down. We've turned the trolling down, and yeah, it was a pure disappointment. So yeah.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
So after letting that go and resetting lines, we were fishing probably another hour. My wife sent a text to me at 1:03, and she says, "You on any better fish?" And I said, "Yeah, no." And she responds, "I'm sorry." And at that point, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I told her it's November. I said, we're out here fishing. What could be better? I said, it can happen at any time, and it only takes one fish. And I kid you not, within 2 or 3 minutes, that middle board went back, and it was on. We were running a 50+2 program, and I was targeting about 27 feet down, and it started taking line right away. Not sheephead line, but just steady line. And we had to slow the boat down, turn the trolling motor down, and I had to walk the fish back and forth. And as I'm doing that, I would gain some, and then I would lose some as I was going back, and then I would gain some, and then I would lose some. And finally got the board in, and Lenny takes the board off, and it's just heavy. It's just heavy, but I'm getting tugs here and there, and getting it closer to the boat, and it's staying down. And I'm like, "Can you see it?" And he's like, "I haven't seen it." I said, "Well, I got 12 feet," and he's like, "I can't see anything." And all of a sudden, it came up for a second, and it had switched over to the other side of the motor, and we both saw the flash of white and the girth on the fish. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. He says, "That's a good fish." And as we were reeling it in, I had said, "Lenny, this is a good fish," and he said, "Shut up." So I had told him a second time because I was getting some good tugs, and he said, "Shut the expletive up," and it's probably just a shad. You're going to jinx it. And he's telling me to lift, and we've got a system, for netting. If I'm reeling, he's netting, and vice versa. But we talk, we communicate back and forth to each other, and finally I was able to lift, and he scooped it, and as he scooped it, the head hit the back of the net, and when the head hit the back of the net, the hook come out, and it fell right in the net. And I don't think that we were ever at risk of losing it in the net, but nonetheless, I mean, it was a heavy fish, and for him to try to pull it back, he's got it extended a little bit, and so I'm helping him come back, and he lays it on the floor. And when he just laid it on the floor, it was just like, he looked at me, his mouth's wide open. I looked at him, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" And at that point, I think there was a couple of punches thrown, a couple of high fives, some hugs, um, and then I think it was a turn around and a slap on the ass. And I'll tell you, we were just in disbelief at that point.
Dude, 12.3 pounds, 31.25 inches. The thing is giant. Did you know? You guys have caught a lot of big fish in your day, obviously, fishing these trails and stuff like that. Did you know the caliber of the fish you caught until you put it on the scale, or did you just know this is a big one?
So we got a good story on that one too.
We knew it was a big one.
And like you're saying, you know from tournament fishing, you know if it's a 4 pounder, 5 pounder, whatever. Usually you can get within ounces of what you think it is, and we knew it was good. And, you know, grab his first scale, and it's that little square Rapala one, and you get it, zero it out. I hook it up, lift it up, and it's like 7 and change, and I'm like, no, there's no way. I set it down, redo it, re-zero it. I pick it up, and it says 8 and change. And I look at Ed, and I'm like, there is no way this fish is only 8 pounds. This thing is well over 10, 11 pounds. I asked him where his other scale was. It was kind of over on the side, and I grabbed that, zero it out, and I grab it, and it was high 11. So I'm like, all right, that's more like it. I set it down, zero it again, and pick it up, and it's in the low 12s. And then it was like, okay, we got to wrap up and we got to get out of here.
And Pete, he's embellishing because when that first came up and it said 11:14, our mouths opened up again, and we looked at each other, and he's setting it down, and the thing's flopping all around, and he hooks it back up, and it came over 12, and we just looked at each other, and we're like, we got to go, and at that point, it was like we've got to wrap up lines. But I had to take the divider out of the live well because I had the divider to, it's just in case we kept some fish that we keep track of who had what, and it wouldn't fit with that divider in there. So I got the divider out, and you got to take it apart with a screwdriver. So we get the fish in there, and it's laying in there next to the other fish, and we're like, okay, now we're up against some 4 pounders that are in the live well, and this thing looks like it could eat all of them, and we're okay, guy. We got to get everything packed in, and we were 45 minutes away from the launch at that point, and we needed to get it in, and our buddies had already come in off the water. I mean, they got off the water at noon to go in for lunch, and Lenny and I looked at each other and said, "We're not going in. We came out here to fish. We're out here until we can't fish anymore, and we're done." And that's just the mindset that we have is that we come out there for fishing, and we've only got a small amount of window that we can fish, and we weren't even going to come out for this trip because the weather the week before, the forecast was horrible, and there wasn't a window to fish. And as we got closer to Friday, we finally made the call that we had a day and a half window that, hey, look, we're going to go out there, we're going to give it a chance, and we had planned on fishing from Saturday to Wednesday, and we only had Sunday and Monday to fish. So we made the trek out there, and thank God we did.
Oh my God. I mean, I can only imagine you're sitting there telling me the story about trying to put that fish on the scale. I can only imagine this thing to zero out and trying to hold it steady to get the weight, and then all of a sudden 7 pounds. Yeah, okay. This thing would eat a 7-pounder. That thing's down there eating the 15-inch shad you just caught.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's surreal, the whole experience, Pete, just the way that it came across. The scale's not being right, and then the secondary scale coming in at that over 12 pounds. We just had to, we knew that we had to wrap stuff up, and we looked at each other. He says, "Are we putting stuff away?" And we're not putting stuff away, and we both shook our heads at that point and said it at the same time, and it was just a matter of burning boards in and taking weights off and sticking stuff in the back, and just to make sure that we're ready to rock and roll. And she was rolling a little bit, not as good as Lake Erie can be, but there was I think we could only see one boat inside of us. We were out towards Vermilion Way, and Lenny and I don't like to fish in the crowds, so I mean we were out a ways, and at that point it was just turn and burn and get back to Huron, and we contacted our buddies, and they met us at the launch, and I don't think that we even bothered to open up the live well. I think we had the boat on the trailer, and we were ready to book out by the time they pulled in, and they had already gone down to the bait shop to let them know that we were coming with a fish. I mean, they were pretty excited for us. I mean, they're just good guys. I'll give them a shout out to John Murphy and Gavin Murphy and Chris Banuski, because I'll tell you what, they traveled with us, and I'll say that they were just as excited, if not more than we were. And uh, we got down there, and I mean, it's just been a blast.
That's how you know you guys are traveling with a good group, though. You know what I mean? For everybody to share that excitement, because again, it does kind of put you in a tough spot. Like, hey, I did reel in the winning fish, but it is a team game. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Lenny, you got to be there to help net the fish, and you guys are running your program, and then the guys that you travel with, they're doing their own thing as well, and I'm sure you guys are bouncing information back and forth. So it's like, it's really cool. You're with your right group of guys when everybody's just as excited, if not more excited than you, right?
Yeah, you can't beat it, and these guys are just genuine good guys.
No, and those are the guys that we like to surround ourselves with. Like when we came out this summer for the MWC Loot Combined Tournament, we had two other teams with us, and one of the teams, Jake Pollock and his wife Deb Pollock, ended up finishing ninth. All of us were ecstatic for those guys to finish that. We were just as pumped like if we were finished that place. And it's just the group that we go fishing with and people that we try to team up with for all these events. We're always trying to help each other win. And if one team finishes up towards the top, we're ecstatic. And around here we got our crews that we work with, and we want to finish 1-2 every single tournament. And if only one of us do, we are just as ecstatic, hugging and high-fiving whoever finishes up top, because their success is our success and vice versa.
That's awesome, man. I mean, Ed, you hit on something perfectly there in your story. When you were texting your wife and you said, you know what, it's November and I'm in a boat, I'm out fishing. Like, it's already a good time, and whatever happens is a bonus. Like, this show, our bait store, I'm a big culture person. I love the culture of fishing. I love the people that I meet through this business and through this industry. And I love, just like you said, I love being able to just hit the river. And you know what? If there's a live well full of fish in the boat, or if we're cranking on fish, that's great. But you know what? I got to jump in a boat. I got to see the sunrise today. I got to float a little bit on the water like that. I think that is so important, your mindset going into something like that, as opposed to you guys driving home. I mean, obviously, when you don't finish where you want to in a tournament or like a derby, you're frustrated. But it's better, when you're driving home mad at each other or not talking. And I mean, it's just, it's really cool. It seems like you absolutely have the right idea, the right mindset, the right people around you. It's one of those things. It's really cool to see.
Well, Pete, I'll say that it's not always been that way. And Lenny and I learned early in our tournament career. I mean, we got sucked into tournaments from a couple of friends that thought we were easy money, and I'll say the first couple of years we were. But I'll tell anybody the story. Lenny and I were fishing in a tournament, and we were struggling. I mean, we were on the struggle bus big time, and I think it was about 11 o'clock, and we were debating on how we were gonna fish at that point and where we were gonna fish, and it came to a pretty heated argument on the boat, and I mean, it was pretty close to blows. Mm-hmm. And, at that point, I think we ended up with one walleye that day. And I think we ended the tournament that day with probably a 3-foot sturgeon that, obviously took about 20 minutes to bring up to the boat to disconnect. But it was right after that, I'd say it probably took us a day to cool off and come back together. And we looked at each other and we said, hey, we probably got a beer and just came to the realization, hey, we're friends first, and this is just fishing. And, at the end of the day, we're going to find those days that we don't catch fish, that mm-hmm. It just doesn't come together. But at the end of the day, we get to fish together. And, I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the best things that have ever happened to Lenny and I, just from a competitive nature. I mean, we're both really type A personalities, and that's our kind of our team name is we're team type A. And
I love that.
You'll see our logo at times, but that's just the kind of people that we are, and that competitive nature. I mean, we compete now against ourselves, and it's nice that we've got a forum to do it, but at the end of the day, I mean, it took something bad like that to really change the perspective on how we fish and how we interact with each other and with other people that we fish with.
That's awesome, man. And I always say, sometimes you need that to realize if you guys can get into an argument like that, because it's happened to me as well, and a buddy of mine that we fish tournaments with. But if you can get in an argument like that and put that behind you and continue to move forward, I think you're literally only better for yourself, because you got to think, man. There is, you said it at the beginning of the episode. You win 2 boats and now you finally broke even. Maybe, probably not. There's a lot of time and a lot of money that goes into this stuff. So obviously, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. Kind of like you said earlier, Lenny, when you're sitting there and you're mentally exhausted. There's a lot of decisions to be made. Do we go east? Do we go west? Do we go 5 miles? Do we go 20 miles? Do we go 40 miles? Do we run these baits? Do we run these baits? Do we hit this depth of water? This depth of water? Like, there are so many decisions to be made, and to expect 2 people to be on the same page all the time is crazy. But to be able to work through that and understand where each guy is kind of coming from is huge, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing that from that incident is that we knew we had to come up with systems, and it's, Ed said it the other day, it's, if I'm thinking it, he's saying it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But we always try to come into a tournament, we win some, lose some, but we always try to have a plan A, B, and C. And, hopefully most of the time we stick on plan A, but, there's been times that we're on plan Z and none of them are working. And it's like, I got nothing, man. And it's just, okay, we're not going to win this tournament. Let's just take a nice leisure boat ride in. If you're 20, 30 miles away, it's like, we're not going to finish and we're not going to bring 2 fish to the scale or something like that. Right. Some days you're not giving up. It's just, you understand that, the preparation you didn't work, and, the fish swim and they kind of move from what you did in pre-fishing. But we've got systems in place that, work for us, and half the time we don't even need to talk. We just look at what the other person's doing. We know that what your job is, to get that fish, and how we communicate. And it's sad to say, but it's good that event helped us and put us to the next level and kind of elevated us in how we fish.
But I think those are important, because in most tournament trails, whether it's the National Walleye Tour, or you're talking Bassmaster Elites, or you're talking any of those trails, those guys are pros fishing with co's. Where, like, you do a Lake Erie walleye trail, or you come over here and do a Michigan walleye tour, or you do these derbies, you guys have been fishing together for 25 years. So that, you're going to obviously go through those ups and downs, where if you're a pro with a co, you just tell the co to sit down and shut up, and you don't have to worry about him. You'll never see him again. Who cares what he says? It's typically what I hear from the co side if a pro gets frustrated. You guys got to deal with each other, because guess what? We got a tournament coming up in a month, right? Yeah. Isn't that kind of the thought behind it?
It's more of the friendship now, Pete, that's transcended everything that we've gone through. And it's funny that you say that we've been those co-anglers. We've pre-fished with the guys, and they've called us destroyers. And at the end of the day, I'll say that we've never had a bad experience with a pro that we fished with. As a matter of fact, the communication is the biggest piece, because one thing that we noticed in fishing with them is they go through the same struggles that we're going through every time that we fish in a tournament. They're trying to figure out what the decision is to go east or west, or change, or make the move, or be overfish or not be overfish. And even having communication with somebody like that, I mean, you can't be afraid to at least talk. We've had good success there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, did you guys? I don't know if I got to it earlier, but did you guys decide? Are you going to keep both boats? Are you going to keep one boat? Are you going to try and sell them both? What's your plan?
I'm going to upgrade my boat. I'm going to take the Ranger.
That's a 622, correct?
That's a 622. And I had a ZV21 first, and now I've got the ZV20, and Lenny's got a 621, and I wasn't sure if he was going to go to the 622 and sell his boat or what. And I'd have been perfectly happy taking the Warrior. I mean, both boats, the way that they're set up, they're both big water boats. We fished out of 622 multiple times on Lake Erie in other big water tournaments, but that Warrior, I'll tell you what, she is a wave crusher. And Brian took us out from Erie Marine Sales Saturday morning before the Slam tournament dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to go through 3-footers to 3-foot rollers at 40 miles an hour on that lake is just phenomenal. And to not be slapping the waves and not be worried about, you know, killing yourself or killing the boat. And, you know, that's huge. And, you know, our lake's a lot skinnier. It's only 22 miles long. It's about 7 miles wide. I think the deepest spot is 50 foot, but most of it's in that 30-foot range. So, I mean, it doesn't get big. I mean, you might get some 3 and 4 footers out there, but most of those days we're not fishing. But at the end of the day, it was a decision of convenience and the way that we set up and fish. And I'd have been happy with either boat. I mean, Lenny took the Warrior, and he's going to end up selling that. And that's going to pay off his boat. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we both got what we wanted. And, you know, I'll tell you, it was a good problem to have to make a decision on what we were going to do.
Well, it's funny because you bring up the everybody that I talked to was always like, yeah, we're going to go win a free boat. Yeah, we're going to go win a free boat. Well, the price tag on that Warrior, you know, what they put online, you know, around that $170,000 mark, that does come with sales tax, like you mentioned earlier. And that's the one part you do have to cover, but you're not going to have any problem getting rid of it in covering that sales tax. But it's just a super cool story, man. I'm you know, sitting down and talking to you guys for the first time and meeting you for the first time over a Zoom call. I mean, Ed, I shot you a Facebook message last week and just kind of took a leap. Hey, is this something that you guys would want to do? Because I'd love to learn more about it. I don't think it could happen to two better guys. You guys have been a pleasure to talk to and a pleasure to meet. It seems like you go about fishing the correct way, and obviously there's competition. Obviously there's all that involved, but at the end of the day, you know, you're getting to fish with your buddy. You guys caught the fish of a lifetime. You got the prizes of a lifetime. And now it's going to make every year a little bit tougher to fish those derbies because of what happened this year.
Yeah.
I tell you, just the fact that we get to go out and fish. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about November. There's big fish out there. There's always a chance. You know, as I said to Lenny, I mean, people have asked, you know, is it just luck? And, you know, there's got to be some luck to it. But I'm going to say, I mean, you got to also make your own luck. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're looking for. You got to put yourself in a position where you can catch that kind of fish. We had that. And at the end of the day, I mean, the fact that it came, the size of it, the fact that Lenny and I share this, and you know, it's that fish story that's not a fish story. It's a fish tale that is true, and I'll talk about it for the rest of my life.
It's funny because, you know, in a way, it's almost like hitting the lottery, and you know, you're always like, when you play and when the mega or the Powerball gets up so high, you're like, man, what would we do? And we were having that conversation on the truck driving out there. Like, could you imagine winning 2 boats? And then we're driving home and it's like, we got 2 boats, man. Look, it's, you know, it's
the
still part of it still doesn't seem real.
No, man, the rush of emotions you guys had to be feeling after you weighed that fish. Because, I mean, you guys drove home and there was still a few days left of the Derby, correct?
There's a full week.
So it's like, you know, you guys are celebrating this fish of a lifetime. You're in first place, but you got to be stressing. I mean, you got to be checking that leaderboard, if not daily, hourly. Just, come on, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
I wasn't checking. My wife was checking more than I was checking.
and Pete, and that's what I was going to say is I think our wives had the countdown clock on their phones, and they were checking, and that, hey, this person got this fish. It's smaller than yours. Hey, this is what's going on. And we only have another day, and so the slam ended a week before the brawl, and then it just, after we got the first boat in, it was like, now we're going through it all over again. And we've got other people that are sending us texts. Hey, one of our buddies, sent us a ball buster quote. Hey, I got a 13 pounder out there today. I'm like, that's awesome. And from my standpoint, we got on the leaderboard and we were in first place for a day. Mm-hmm. If that's how it ended and somebody beat us the next day, we were in first place for a day. And the fact that it kept carrying over day after day, and it got closer. I mean, we actually had a watch party that Sunday that the slam was closing. We had probably 20, 25 people at the bar with us, with the clock up on the bar TV. Drinks were flowing. I mean, it was a Sunday brunch. And, when it happened, like I said, Craig Lewis was the first guy to call me. And the elation in his voice that we won, I'll tell you what, I love that guy. I mean, he is just a genuine person, and that's what the fishing community is about, is people like that, people that take a genuine interest in you, regardless of who you are. They're willing to sit down and talk to you. They're willing to share some information. They're willing to give themselves to you, from that standpoint. And that's the best thing about fishing that I say that I can take away. I mean, my grandparents gave me the fishing bug when I was a kid, and they tried to teach me right. But fishing community, our community, as big as some of these lakes are, the fishing community is pretty darn small. And the number of people that you see all the time, I mean, we've met people from Minnesota, from Colorado, and we've kept in touch with them. It's just good people. It's good people doing the right thing. And I'll tell you, fishing has brought us so many new friends and so many good people that, I'll tell you what, it's probably one of the best things that we could have ever done.
And we try to go to shops like yours. It's when we come out there, it's almost like we try to make okay, we'll stop here on this day because we'll fish out of this port. We'll go over to this port. We'll stop at this shop and everything, because we'd rather go to, Erie Outfitters than Cabela's. We'd rather go there, spend our money locally, have those conversations with those local business owners that's their living, where, if we're going to spend a couple $100 worth of lures, I'd rather give my money to Craig than go right down the road to Cabela's. It just makes sense to us in our head. Plus, you're getting that chat back and forth, and that just, you could sit there and hang out for a half hour after you buy $100-$200 worth of lures. And it's a genuine talk, where what Ed said earlier, and Craig, he didn't know us the first time we went there, but, it's like, hey, you got any information? He's like, yeah, go out here and just look for X amount of feet of water, and, probably want to try bandits and try them up high. It's like, okay, we'll take that information. And then, you got to go from there. But stopping at all these local shops and, purchasing what they have to sell, it's invaluable to the fishing community.
Yeah, I mean, that's by far the biggest thing with those shops. And a guy like Craig down at Erie Outfitters, he's an amazing person. But like you said, it's that personal touch, that little bit of help here and there. Him being the first person to call you, he's going to remember, you'll remember that forever, but he's also going to remember you forever. Where a lot of those big box stores, I don't ever like to even call them competitors for stores like us, because they carry things that we would never be able to carry. Tackle bags, terminal tackle, all the random stuff like that. But we're able to provide kind of that personal touch, know who you are. You guys will walk in there from now on. Every time you walk in that store, they're like, he's going to know you're there, and he's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's not just a store associate. So that's really cool, man. That's a cool way to look at it.
Ed spends a little bit more money in tackle shops than I do. But I'm not sure. I always laugh at it because I'm not sure he can walk out of any store without spending $200. But he's got a barn where he can just keep stacking all these lures. He's got more lures still in packages than most people have in their whole arsenal.
Probably more than
My
the
wife,
store here.
my wife's listing, that was $20.
Oh, 20. I forgot. I'm sorry. A couple zeros.
Yeah, it was only 15. Well,
Yeah.
that rounds right back around to that addiction thing we talked about a few minutes ago.
The funny thing is,
the thing the thing is though, along with that, because I get guys that come in the store that I know for a fact when they leave the store, I'm like, I don't think that thing's even getting fished. Like, I think that's just going. But just to be able to, share the money around and throw it through these bait shops and stuff. I mean, I know me personally, like when my customers come through, everyone that's listening and watching, we appreciate the heck out of it. Like, it means a ton to us. So when you guys are going around, I mean, it's what we do. You know what I mean? We fish and we hunt. We're not doing, because typically you can't afford to do everything, but that's what we do is fish and hunt. So if that's where we're going to spend our money, then hey, so be it.
yeah,
It's a good vice to have.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that growing up and my grandfather taking me in the bait shop, I remember as a kid, I used to catch crayfish for the local bait shop down in Fulton, New York. And, he'd give us 2 cents a piece. And I mean, we'd come in with one of mom's big soup pots full of crayfish. And he's looking at us and, okay, and shell out 2 cents. And we're buying worms, we're buying hooks. And, we've got a couple of small shops around Oneida Lake that one has a huge selection and does a great job. And we've watched them from the time that they opened to where they are now. And we've got another one that's been on the lake for decades. And, you got to look at those shops because when they're not there, you know that they're not there. And we've seen a lot of shops that have closed over the years that, whether it be COVID or whether it be poor ice fishing seasons, if you're not supporting your local business, you're going to lose them. And once you lose them, you're not getting them back. So, I mean, when it's bad ice, you stop out there and you buy something. And when it's really hot and the fish aren't biting, you still got to go in the bait shop. You got to, because they're always there for you. They're always opening the doors at 4:00 in the morning, 5:00 in the morning to sell you minnows. So, I mean, I'll tell you, the appreciation that we have for the shops like Lakeside Outfitters that we've got on Oneida Lake and Apps and Mike's. I mean, you just can't beat that stuff.
Mm-mm. No, man. No, you're spot on. And that, like you said, that's super cool. And the cool thing, I always tell my customers, the best thing about fishing tackle, most of it, it doesn't expire. You can take a back of jigs or you can take a Bandit and you can put it in the garage. And when it's time to use it, it'll be there for you.
And the funny thing with the tackle is used to every time you go in there and, you'd find a hot bait or your favorite bait or whatnot. And you'd always grab anywhere from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6 of those crankbaits. And I remember my wife used to always ask, why do you need 6 of those? And it's like, because if that's the hot bait on a tournament, I might have 6 of them out. I want to make sure if one breaks off, I want to make sure I have a backup. And, through the, 9 times out of 10, me and Ed are on the boat together, but bring my wife out and then her slowly learning that depth, color, speed, and all that matters. And I remember, I think it was last year, her saying that, the last 2 came on like a blue chrome. You got another one we could put out? And I'm like, see? Me buying so many of them, it's paying off.
I love that.
Well, her saying that.
No, babe, like, you made me leave. You made me leave that one on the shelf.
It was funny that it kind of came full circle to this is why I buy so many of the same color.
Dude, that is awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys, we've just about hit our 1 hour mark. Is there anything that we missed or anything you guys want to add in before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to say that, Pete, I mean, Jason Fisher and Craig Lewis and the amount of work that they put in, the teams that they've pulled together to do this, we couldn't do it without them. And Vix and Erie Marine Sales. I mean, those guys decked those boats out to the nines. And at the end of the day, those guys are still going to be there next year. They're still going to be there the year after. And what they do for the fishing community out there, that's what makes fishing fun. And, they're just good people and good people in the fishing community. We need to share as much as possible stories and teach kids and take kids out and keep passing this along. So that's my piece is I give all the credit in the world to what time and effort that these people put in, and it's helped us to meet people like you. And so, I mean, from that standpoint, I appreciate you reaching out. I mean, this has been a fun hour.
I love it, man. I really love it. And I hope, with this, I hope that, our listeners can hear it, because we hear all the time up here. We're right on the St. Clair River. We're just north of Lake St. Clair. So we're about 3 hours from here on, 3 hours or so, give or take. And I always hear guys, that's a far way to go. That's a long way to go to fish these tournaments. Well, maybe this story might give some of those people a reason to go down there and try to fish it. Because, I mean, you guys are driving from farther. And the thing is, it's not for a day. It's for a weekend. It's for 3-4 days. And the whole goal behind this podcast was to meet really cool people around the country and sit down and talk with them. And hopefully that we drive some more business to Erie Outfitters. And hopefully, more people do decide to sign up for the Walleye Slam in the Fall Brawl. Maybe someone's looking for a warrior and they can head down to Erie Marine Sales, or they need a ranger. And they can go to Vic's, because Vic's, they do an awesome job down there. But
there's a nice 238 for sale right now if anybody wants it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put the listing down below in the bio.
Right down here. It's right down here.
Just scroll down, and then when you scroll down, hit that subscribe button on the way down. But seriously, man, I can't thank you guys enough. Lenny, did you have anything you wanted to add before I kind of do our final thing here?
Kind of the same thing, it's the guys that run those tournaments. We've run tournaments around our local lake, and we ran a Walleye Wednesday series for a while. And, just the headaches and the amount of time and effort that it takes, thank God for those guys. And, we were lucky enough to benefit from that. But the crews that they have together, you can't thank them enough. Pete, we appreciate you, reaching out to Ed to have us on the show. It really speaks volume of, what you're looking to do and provide your, shop, the people that come into your shop, what you're trying to hook those guys up for with information, and obviously bait and tackle. We appreciate it.
That's it, man. And like I said, I don't think the win could have went to two better guys and a better group of guys. I mean, you guys are, focused on, Ed, you touched on it with the kids, and Lenny, you touched on it, the small bait shops and stuff like that. That is, that is the backbone of this. And I said it earlier, we're a big culture. We love the culture of fishing. That's what I fell in love with, was the people and stuff. So to be able to sit on here and talk to two guys from New York about fishing Lake Erie and winning boats, it's we're pretty blessed, man. Absolutely. And if you guys are ever coming this way, I know it's a little bit longer because you got to go around Erie and then kind of up in the thumb. But I've always got a Detroit River trip or a St. Clair River trip waiting for you guys. You don't even have to bring a boat. Bring the girls, and if you guys ever want to come this way, we'll go fishing. So
you got a date.
What's that?
You got a date.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll stick around after the show. Maybe we can line something up for next spring.
Outstanding.
Because that would be a lot of fun, doing some jigging there and getting into a pile of fish. I think would be a good time. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. A big thank you, obviously, to Ed and Lenny for joining the show and sharing their story and where they launched and a few of their secrets. Which we obviously appreciate. So when we sat down, I asked Ed and Lenny, I said, what's off? Do we not want to talk about the port? Do we not want to talk about where you guys were? I don't care. That's what they both said. So a huge thank you to you two guys for jumping on and not holding anything back and allowing our viewers and listeners to join in. Guys, again, I'm not going to keep you long. Please support the people that are supporting us. Whitewater Fish, Papa's Pilar Rum, Cortland Line, Great Lakes Anglers Co. and their coffee. These guys are awesome. All four of those companies firmly believe in conservation and growing our sport. So please support who supports us. And I think that's all I got. This will be coming out the Monday before the new year. So you guys have a very happy new year. We're going to see you guys in 2025 next time on the Hook One Pod. Adios.